As much fun as building a new LEGO set is, every now and again a certain step makes you stop and think, really? This is what I signed up for? Today, I'll be showing off some of LEGO's most tedious instruction steps in recent LEGO sets. As a quick example of what I'm talking about, check out Colombo, released under the Fortnite line in 2025. With 2 minifigures and over 1,000 parts, this is a super detailed model that's a great toy as well as a nice display piece. And while most of the build is fantastic, there's one step that may catch you off guard. On step 74, you'll need to fish out 16 of these sticks with holders, as well as 16 of these brightly colored diamonds. These are actually pretty rare pieces, only ever appearing in a handful of sets, and this build is the only one to feature them in this color. So getting 16 of them is pretty nice. This is a rather large quantity of pieces though to attach, but this is definitely not too bad compared to some of the other instruction steps that we'll see later. The pieces all click together without too much effort and the result is quite stable, and the entire step only takes a minute or two. But you see, we're just scratching the surface. Take a look at the Super Mario 64 question block set. It's a fan favorite thanks to its brilliant internal mechanisms, meticulous attention to detail, and some hidden secrets as well. However, that doesn't change the fact that it features some of the most tedious steps I've ever had to deal with. From the outside, it's pretty obvious that this set's going to use a lot of yellow tiles. In fact, this set comes with nearly 250 yellow tiles in a range of shapes and sizes that are mostly used to cover the exterior of the build. These pieces all get used in a surprisingly small number of steps, but they're mostly spread out throughout the entire build, meaning that each section never lasts for too long. Starting pretty early on step 49, you'll spend a few pages placing a few dozen tiles to leave the outline of the question mark. This is actually a super clever design, and it's something that the set returns to near the very end, where you'll need to create the final 2 sides of the cube. However, there's one step in the middle that has earned this set a spot in today's video. On page 148 of the instructions, you'll need to grab 64 of these inverted 2x2 tiles and place them all over this 16x16 plate to form the top of the cube. While certainly a tedious step, this isn't likely to leave your fingers too sore, unlike this next set. The Pac-Man arcade is a blast of 1980s nostalgia that's sure to have you digging through the couch looking for extra quarters. While the final build looks fantastic sitting on a shelf, there's at least one step that's enough to make even the most hardcore builders stop and wonder if it's worth the effort. About halfway through the instructions, on step 158, you'll need to grab 64 of these yellow bars, 64 of these black tubes, and a jaw-dropping 128 of these Technic pins. If the sheer number of pieces wasn't enough to scare you off, this step itself might just do the trick. To start, you'll need to assemble 2 Technic pins, a Technic connector, and one of the bar elements. While this is pretty simple, the amount of force needed to slide the bar through the Technic pins is significant, and having to do it a total of 64 times is no small task. Luckily, this is the second to last step of bag 8, so it's a perfect time afterwards to take a small break to stretch out your aching fingers. While using 256 pieces in a single step is certainly very rare, it's not the step with the most parts in today's video. You see, that honor goes to 2021's Bird of Paradise from the Botanical line. It's no secret that I love these sets, and the theme has been a massive win for LEGO and fans alike. However, even the best theme can have some weird steps, and the Bird of Paradise features one of the craziest steps I've ever seen in a LEGO set. At the very end of the build on step 107, you'll open up bag 5 to find that it contains only 2 smaller bags, each featuring several 1x1 round studs. Next, you'll mix them all up and dump them into the flower pot to simulate dirt. Now, I know this technique has been used a few times before. Both the bonsai tree and ship in a bottle sets have similar steps, just smaller. The bonsai tree used an even 200 pieces across 4 colors, while the ship used 284 pieces in translucent blue. This build, though, uses 300 pieces, 100 in reddish brown and 200 in medium nougat. Don't get me wrong, this is a great set, but I can't help but feel that the decision to use 300 1x1 studs was just to increase the set's piece count. In the end, these parts alone make up about 25% of the set's 1,172 parts. Now, on the topic of flowers, the flower bouquet from 2021 is a great addition to any garden, real or plastic. Made up of nearly a dozen unique flowers, this build features a bunch of clever designs and unique parts that are a hallmark of the Botanicals line. But there's one part that's bad enough to turn a walk in the garden into a living nightmare. Near the end of the build, you'll assemble this lavender flower. Despite the seeming complexity, the entire build is carried out in a single step on page 65. For this, you'll need 18 of these plant stems, 9 brown rods, 9 golden leaves, 9 golden crowns, and a staggering 54 of these small flowers. As you can see, the instructions are broken up into 4 smaller sub-steps, and the build is pretty simple. You just have to do it 9 times in a row. This build has a lot of small pieces that are easily dropped or lost, and putting that many flowers onto the plant stems is extremely tedious. Next up, turning to some non-botanical flowers, the Vincent van Gogh Sunflower set is the perfect addition to the fantastic Starry Night from 2022. Much like the original painting, this set is a masterclass in color usage, featuring several shades of yellow and gold. As you can probably tell by looking at the set, this entire build features a handful of repetitive steps. For example, building the frame alone takes the first 6 bags. From there, the bulk of the build is assembling these background sections one by one. This really is nearly the entire build, running from pages 60 to 182 and covering bags 7 to 23. But we're not done yet. We still need to build the iconic sunflowers, and this is where the real tedium sets in. Beginning on page 200, you'll start with the first flower, and things don't seem so bad at first. For the most part, you'll be putting together several 2x1 plates with clips, roof tiles with lattice, and 1x1 plates all in warm gold. First, you'll need 2 of each, then 8, then 2, and then 2 more. Then you'll assemble 4 with slight variations, and you'll finally wrap up with 5 more petals to finish the flower. The first flower. You'll repeat variations of this for most of the rest of the build, while you assemble the remaining flowers. In the end, you'll use a total of 106 1x1 plates, 112 1x2 plates, and 141 roof tiles, on top of about 100 other assorted elements in this same warm gold color to finish off this genuinely gorgeous build. The set relies heavily on these select few pieces to make sure that the final result is a truly great display piece. Now, sometimes you can just tell by looking at a set that the build is going to use a lot of the same pieces, and that's certainly true for 2020's International Space Station. Just looking at the box art, it's clear that you'll be assembling a lot of solar panels, and the build doesn't disappoint on that front. Starting with bag 6, you'll dump out all of the solar panel elements, as well as several other parts that you'll need. At the start of this section, you'll see that you'll be building this assembly 8 times. I've got to say that I really appreciate it when LEGO tells us that we'll be repeating the steps from the beginning, instead of surprising us with an 8x at the very end. Over the next few pages, you'll put together each of the solar panels over just 6 simple steps. While this is one of the easiest sets in today's video, it's still kind of a dull way to wrap up an otherwise fun build. I'm just glad that these are printed pieces though. If this had been dozens of stickers, it truly would have been tedious. Every year, LEGO releases a few themed sets around Halloween, and they're always impressive. Of all of the holiday themed sets though, the Haunted House might just be my favorite. While this set is jam-packed with all manner of ghosts and goblins, there's one part of the build that's somehow even scarier. Step 440 of this 3,231 piece build is all about building the fully functional elevator, and this is where the set goes from a little creepy to outright terrifying. In this one step, you'll need a total of 151 chain links. Unlike the Bird of Paradise though, these all need to be assembled into a single chain. While this might be one of the single most tedious steps of all time, it's hardly the worst. The longest chain ever required in a LEGO set is, without a doubt, in the amazing Loop Coaster. This set has nearly 4,000 pieces and stands nearly 2 feet tall, so the fact that this build requires an equally massive chain should come as no surprise. On step 452, you'll need to assemble a mind-bending 254 chain links to get this ride up and running. The final result, though, is more than worth the effort. Unsurprisingly, larger sets are more likely to have more repetitive steps. As one example, check out the Daily Bugle, and you'll immediately notice that this building is going to require you to put together a lot of windows. Step 65 tells you to put together 40 windows in 4 groups of 10. Now, on its own, this isn't anything special, but this is a very tall building with several floors, each of which has its own windows. By the time you're done with this set, you'll have assembled these pieces in the exact same way 22 times. Overall, this set comes with 347 of these pieces. Yeah, 347 windows. That's nearly 10% of all the pieces in this massive build. Wow. The Death Star 2 from 2005 was one of LEGO's first giant sets with nearly 3,500 pieces. While the set was a hit at the time, the build hasn't aged terribly well and is considered pretty subpar by modern standards, and it relies heavily on a select few pieces to build this entire thing. It's a tedious build for sure. After building the frame, you'll get to start on the station itself. Starting on page 40, you'll spend 17 pages putting together this monstrosity of a section. This entire section is tricky. Each step calls for several parts, where they go isn't clearly shown, and the whole thing is kinda just a mess. And then you have to do it all again a second time. But wait, there's more. Next, you'll need to assemble the outer shell. Each of these sections is largely similar, but each one is different enough that you're not doing the exact same thing. While that kind of variety is nice, the fact that they're all so close can make it easy to miss a small detail here or there. In the middle of all of this, though, is the real culprit that makes this one of LEGO's most tedious but also most fun. Yeah, I'm talking about the laser. Here, you'll need to stack 24 1x1 round bricks on top of each other with no internal support, leading to a design that's as fragile as it is repetitive. All around the main laser, there are 8 sets of 4 more round 1x1 bricks, each topped with a translucent green antenna. As if that weren't bad enough, these are only attached to a single stud. It'll fall off with the slightest touch. So while this might not be the most repetitive build out there, it's likely one that you'll need to fix over and over again. But at least the bricks in this step don't snap and break into tiny pieces, like this notorious piece. Click here to learn more about the faulty brick that always breaks, and don't forget to turn on notifications when you subscribe so you don't miss my next video.